Hi, in this clip, I'm going to show you how I touched up my roots. It's basically a face frame or partial highlight and tone. On a different day, I did the actual foiled highlights. Then I realized it was too stripy and it didn't blend. So this is me actually recording for you guys and showing you how I fixed the stripiness and some orange that I got from lifting the previous color correction I did with a darker toner. So let's get into it. Okay, we're just gonna mix a tiny bit of Schwarzkopf BlondeMe with bond enforcing qualities in it. So super tiny amount. Maybe this much. Okay. That's probably even, well, I like to kind of make extra because this bleach is only used on me and it doesn't last forever. So I'm going to use 40 volume since I'm only doing a very tiny area of my hair. Okay. 40 volume, and then I have 7 volume. I'm gonna do a tiny squirt of this. The cap fell off on the other one, so all right, that's good. Normally I would never use so much 40 volume, but I'm doing such a tiny amount and I don't have to worry about working fast or other parts of my hair processing longer. Actually, I want it to go fast. I'll just watch it carefully. So we mixed up the bleach. It has bond enforcer in it, but I also put in a little Olaplex one. Just a couple drops. There we go. So you add the Olaplex after you mix the bleach. Literally just a couple drops. Okay. We're ready to go. The higher the developer volume is, the faster it processes, so you better work fast. All right, we're ready. Okay. I want to get rid of this dark stripe right there, so let's pick that part of the hair out. Yeah, right there. I'm gonna use the foiling comb. Okay, so just in case it's not clear, this video is me just going in and correcting some face frame and partial highlights that I recently did that I didn't record. From now on, whenever I do my hair, I'll record it. But I had some stripiness and I had some orange from lifting previous toner or permanent dye. So I weaved out the section with a weaving comb and I was basically holding it up to see how the hair would lay to pick out the parts I want to lighten. And whatever I'm not gonna foil, I just use my mouth to keep that section out of the way. And I always use foils on a foiling board. I have 2 of them now. One that's for my lengths. And yeah, this me making sure I have the hair nice and tight on that board. And I don't start brushing on the bleach from the very root because it'll cause bleed marks. I start brushing it on a little bit away from the roots and I kind of feather it down. I also use a Framoir brush, the one that looks more like a paintbrush, and that I notice helps really penetrate the hair with the bleach. And I really make sure that it's very well saturated. I take my time to do that because this enables a more even lift, which is very important. Something else you'll see me do is I basically cut the foils to size, and I like to just sandwich it together because it helps me to work faster. And I noticed that the less you foiled the foil, the more even the lift usually ends up being. And I use these long duckbill clips to keep everything in place. When you're color correcting, it's very important for you to be precise and carefully section things out. Also, you have to be mindful not to overlap bleach on the really light blonde sections either. And you shouldn't put bleach where the hair is dark, because that's going to take longer to lift and you're going to end up with orange. Whereas everywhere that's orange right now that I'm trying to fix, which you can't clearly see in this video, that's going to take shorter time to get as blonde as the lengths are of my bangs. I also forgot to record how I check on my foils. So keep in mind, I'm only doing a very small section around my face, but I did use a lot of 40 volume developer. So off camera, while it was developing, I'm constantly checking on the process of the lift, adding a little more bleach if I notice that it needs it. Also, some sections process slower than others, so I will carefully blast that with a little bit of heat from the blow dryer to make sure everything lifts evenly at the same time. Okay, now I'm color correcting. So there's a little orange in here. I'm gonna correct that. But I have more orange on this side over here. So let's take a look. Yeah, right there I have a lot of orange. I'm gonna correct this. Okay. What I'm doing right there is picking out carefully the really blonde section that's not orange, that does not need to be bleached again to remove any orange since there is none. Also, I don't want breakage. I've done that before where I had breakage and I looked like I had a ton of baby hairs just sticking up straight for a couple months. This is me just struggling, trying to see what size foil would be appropriate to use. So I'm using a skinnier piece of foil since it's a very small, thin slice of hair to bleach. And then you'll see me finally figure out I just needed the full length of the foil. since I'm not really trying to bleach the dark section or at the roots, I'm really just trying to fix the orange that's in the middle of that strand of hair. Since I pretty much have two tones in my hair, a dark tone and the blonde, it's really more important for the blonde to always be lifted to a clean, even lift. That way, when you tone, everything tones properly. So fighting orange is basically the bane of my existence. Whenever I need to do that, I have to do it very carefully, like you see me do in this video, by carefully sectioning out the orange parts and only bleaching that so I don't get breakage. I just realized I never did a disclaimer, so this is my disclaimer. I am not a professional. I'm just someone who's obsessed with hair, who's been doing this at home. I've been doing my own hair for over 10 years. Trust me, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've watched a lot of videos and a lot of professionals, and this is what works for me, and I'm just sharing my knowledge with you. But keep in mind, it really does depend on the type of hair you have naturally, your hair color history, and basically your natural color as well. If you can tell what I'm doing, I'm not trying to lighten the dark parts. I'm basically trying to get rid of the orange. So, like right in there. Okay. So here I'm just gonna fix this foil by redoing it. It's because when we are trying to get a clean, even lift, you need to have very precise, thin sections. You need to thoroughly saturate the hair with enough product, but you also need to make sure it's well insulated in the foil, which does two things. It keeps the hair from drying out, because once the hair dries out, the bleach kind of stops working, but it also keeps the hair warm as well, because heat really helps the bleach process and do its thing and lift the color out of the hair. Redid that foil to make sure it's like nice and tight and up to the root. All right. So I'm leaving this part last because it's closer to the face and the hair is more fine, but I see some orange in there that I want to fix. So let's fix it. Yeah, right there. There's some orange. So once I weave it out with the weaving comb, I check to see which section of hair needs to be lightened. Also, I'm kind of picturing what it's going to look like once it's lightened, how it's going to blend. And I clip it out of the way with those long metal duckbill clips. Also, I wanted to reiterate how important it is to hold the piece of hair you're going to foil nice and tight. And that way you can get as close to the roots as possible, but you do not want to saturate the roots with too much bleach, because when it processes, the bleach will swell and then you'll get bleed marks, which then you're gonna have to fix again if that happens, but it does happen. Now we just gotta watch it and time it. Okay, it's another day, and I just kind of used purple shampoo after I washed it out. I don't think the camera is picking it up. It's a little stripy for my taste. I like it more blended because I know the second my roots start growing out, it's gonna look really, really bad. And I hate when my hair doesn't look fresh. I want it to blend better so the grow out will be nice. If I'm lazy to touch up my hair for like 2 months, it can go 2 months and still look good with dark roots. So it's gonna be really easy. Let me just section out my hair back here. So I don't really care what my roots look like back there. Naturally, that hair in the back is usually thicker and darker anyway, and it doesn't get hit by the sun, so it's usually lighter for that reason too. And also, what's it called? I like my hair to be multi-dimensional, and if it's darker in the background, it has something for the light to contrast against. And not only does that make your light hair look even lighter by contrast, but also it creates dimension. So the light and the dark, the shadows, that's what makes my hair appear thicker than it really is, which I appreciate. So here's my little stash. Can you see? Let me see. There we go. Up there, I have like a stash of toners. That's not all my toners, that's just most of my toners. So we have an option here. We can do like the Wella, I do T18 Lightest Ash Blonde with a lot of cooling violet added to it and a 20 volume developer. If we do that, the little bit of roots I do have going on, my natural is gonna be lightened. It's called bumping the base. So my natural hair will be lightened about 2 shades and it'll blend it that way. The other option I can do is just using Shades EQ by Redken, and that's gonna tone down the blonde and make it blend into my natural dark roots. So I'm debating what I want to do right now. I think I just want to do darker, so alright, we'll do Shades EQ in 6T. If I do too much of this or use this straight, my hair will turn dark and gray. So I need to add like a splash of 8GI so that it kind of like gives this brighter blonde color. And then I do want it to blend into my roots, so I will be mixing that with a tiny splash of 5N. That's going to be my formula. All right, let's do this. Okay. So I don't really measure anymore. I used to weigh it on a scale, but I've done this enough times where I can kind of eyeball it. So that was the 6T. It's going to be mostly 6T with the smallest splash of 5N and a little bit more than the 5N, but not as much as the 6T. We'll do the 8GI. So, and then my developer, I use the cream one. It's better for more precise application. I don't like the runny one. It's about a 1-to-1 ratio, I'd say. And I know that it looks like so little, but we're only tapping the roots. And the brush I like to use is the Framar. It's the very wide, thin tint brush. And I just blend it with the tint brush. Okay. And everyone's hair is different. My hair is very fine and it actually lifts pretty easily. So I have a friend who have coarse hair and she doesn't really notice much toning from using the Shades EQ. She has better luck with a different color line and using a higher volume developer, because the Shades EQ I think is less than 10 volume. Alright, so I sectioned out the hair. That's basically where I did the highlights last time. Okay, and let's do this. So I work from the back to the front. And you know what? It does cover some gray. I see some gray right now. So this is like semi-permanent color. And we're just going to blend out some of that gray. And I like doing this over the course of a few days now instead of all in one day, because my scalp doesn't like it when I wash my hair several times in the same day, since I'm more used to having it washed only twice a week. And then, you know, it's less damage on your hair because you don't have to constantly wash it and blow dry it to keep coloring, toning, fixing, etc. And also, I just kind of like let it air dry mostly, if not completely in between. And I just go about my day doing my normal styling routine, my heat-free curls, and that way I'll kind of gauge what it looks like. The only exception is when I just do the face frame or partial highlight only. I'll only do that section and I'll only wash that section. And I like to blow dry it right away so I can kind of see if the lift was nice and even, if I need to color correct anything. See that line of demarcation? We're going to blend that. Yep, tap the roots right there. It's going to help blend it into my roots and have less of that stripy effect. This one is more blended. That happens, honestly. There's a lot of pressure on stylists because even if you know what you're doing and you're really experienced, sometimes these things just happen where like some of the highlights will be very nice and blended, and then you'll get like random spots that lifted too much. It does not blend. So now we're getting closer to the face frame. Here I'll do one of two things. I'll wait for the other hair to process, and then I'll just tap the roots the last like couple minutes. Or, you know, since I have hardly anything left, I'm gonna mix into here some different colors. So I'm going to use 9B. Just a couple drops. Where'd it go? Yeah, 8. We're still going to do a tiny bit of 8GI. So it's still nice and bright and blonde and light and not like this gray or silver. So a tiny bit of that 8GI. So what did I do last time? Last time I did 5N. Instead of 5N, I'm going to do 8N. Because remember, there's a little bit of 5N in there right now. All right. And then a little tiny bit more developer. There we go. The other thing too is, yeah, it's like 1-to-1 ratio. Sometimes I might do a little more developer than the color. Or another trick is if I'm doing the ends where it's more blonde, I'll do crystal clear. I'll add more crystal clear so the color is like more diluted and sheer. And I will do the proper amount of developer and just let it develop for a longer time so that the color has more longevity. Okay, everything's blended. This is the perfect amount for my money piece. So let's do the money piece. So keep in mind, this is a little lighter and brighter formulation than what I used for the back of my hair, the back sections. I don't know why I said it like that. I do very thin sections and work pretty fast. And I'm just tapping the roots and then blending it down. This is what differentiates old school highlights with more modern, expensive blonde highlights. It's basically the different formulations of toners, the sectioning, the application. Okay. And then I did the highlights on the sides. I'm going to keep those nice and bright too. We have toner left, so let's hit those. Okay. There we go, right there. I'm just scraping what's left in the bowl. Okay. And we're basically gonna wash this out in like less than 10 minutes. All right. I'll show you what it looks like after I wash it out. Okay, so the toner sat for around 7 to 10 minutes. I blow dried it, but because my hair is so long, it takes forever to blow dry. I just kind of blow dry the front pieces and the bangs, and then put it in the heat-free curls and let it kind of set. Okay. So let's take a look at the roots. Yep, it blends. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I didn't record this, but I actually picked out some pieces on the length to make more blonde. And I did a couple tip outs on the very ends of my hair, because I felt like my hair by my face and up top was more blonde than my hair on the lengths. So yeah, this is my at-home root touch-up that I do every other month. Let me get some better clips of it downstairs.